Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about more Toronto Maple Leaf prospects, but primarily focusing on some of our friends from Sweden. Whenever I've showed off a potential 2021 Toronto Maple Leaf lineup, I've always flashed something similar to this on the screen, and this would be playing with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. If you're going to roll with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen, this would make Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren the 8th and 9th defensemen on the Maple Leafs' defensive depth chart. And if they were going to go with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen the majority of the time, it would make sense because they have 8 or 9 defensemen that they need to be giving ice time to, specifically Liljegren and Sandin. And up front, what that means is you're going to need more minutes from the big guys on this team, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with asking that of them because they make all the money. So the Toronto Maple Leafs will be playing 56 games from January 13th to May 8th, and that's 116 days. And if we compare that to the last full NHL season, the 18-19 season, it took the Maple Leafs 132 days to play 56 games. I know that's not exactly perfect, but the purpose of it is to show that the schedule this year is condensed. And if there's a condensed schedule, you're going to have to be giving your regular players more rest. And if you're giving your players regular rest, you're going to have to be using your depth players. So for Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren to be the 8th and 9th defenseman, and for the Maple Leafs playing 7 defensemen on a regular nightly basis most of the time anyway, they will get into games and they will have a lot of minutes to play. I wouldn't be worried about that. So I've shown stuff like this multiple times when talking about Liljegren and Sandin already, but these are individual seasons in the American Hockey League of defensemen under the age of 20 from 1999-2000 onwards. And it's a lot of European-born players here because CHL players or players born in Canada can't play in the American Hockey League until after they turn 20. Minimum 20 games played, and it's sorted by points per game. So of the players that were allowed to play in the American Hockey League in the last 20 years at under the age of 20, it's a little bit of a mouthful. Rasmus Sandin has 2 individual seasons in the top 4 there, and Timothy Liljegren is represented on this list at number 15 and number 20. And if you expand the list to include defensemen under the age of 21, so this is showing defensemen that were coming out of the CHL playing their first year in the American Hockey League here, you're going to see that Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin are still represented on this list at 7th and 9th being their most recent 1920 seasons. Look at the names. At this point in their development, Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin are in the same conversation as guys like John Carlson, Justin Falk, Mike Green, Shea Theodore, Matt Dumba, PK Subban. There's also Derek Pouliot and Cody Ceci on here. We won't mention that, but the other names are very, very encouraging. Timothy Liljegren will be 21 years old for the majority of this upcoming season, and I don't think that this guy gets the praise that he deserves because he didn't take a traditional development route. At 18 years old, this guy could have played in the Ontario Hockey League and racked up 70 or 80 points as a defenseman like most high-profile prospects do, but he went the route of playing in the American Hockey League against more mature competition in a professional men's league, and he played on the third pair for the Toronto Marlies, and they won the Calder Cup that year. The beginning of the 18-19 season, the Maple Leafs were trying to refine his defensive game a little bit more. They tasked him with some penalty-killing assignments, and they really tried to make and shape this player and play him against tougher competition. That's why you're seeing the drop-off in point production there. Now, the American Hockey League is very proprietary about their stats. They will not show you information based on time on ice, but I can guarantee you this past season for the Toronto Marlies, where he put up 30 points in 40 games as a 20-year-old, he was playing between 20 and 25 minutes a night. But now I want to highlight the career development of a guy like Evan Bouchard, who is held in a lot higher regards in terms of value and career trajectory than a guy like Liljegren. Both Liljegren and Bouchard have 1999 birthdays, but Bouchard was born after the September 15th cutoff date to be eligible for the 2017 draft, so he's one of the older players selected in the 2018 draft, and that does bode well for your stock. But he's also 6'3", 194 pounds from Oakville, Ontario, so he does get that reputation and that stamp of being a good old Canadian boy, but whatever that means. In 2017-2018, he was 18 years old and was the captain of the London Knights, put up 87 points in 67 games for them. The following year, being 19 years old, again, he captained the London Knights and put up 53 points in 45 games, 21 points in 11 playoff games. It's very impressive. And his last season was his first in the American Hockey League, and he put up 36 points in 54 games for the Bakersfield Condors. And if we come back to our list of individual seasons of defensemen under the age of 21 in the American Hockey League, we're going to see Liljegren on this list at 7th, and Evan Bouchard is down here at 16th. Both still very, very impressive in their own rights, but one player is held in a lot higher regards even though they had a worse season. That, to me, says that there's a bias there. I'm going to choose to be optimistic because I like to be, but if you're looking at Liljegren's 11-game stint that he had with the Maple Leafs from this past season, he wasn't very good. If you're looking at the CF percentage relative to his teammates, if you're looking at the scoring chances for and against, if you're looking at the expected goals, if you're looking at the high danger events, not very good. But again, it's just 11 games, and this prospect does have a very long and impressive resume and track record. You shouldn't throw that away just because he played a bad 11 games on what was a disastrous season for the Maple Leafs from start to finish anyway. Now, I talked a lot about Timothy Liljegren, but I also showed a lot of stuff about Rasmus Sandin if you were paying attention there. Take everything that I said about Liljegren and multiply it by 100 when it comes to Rasmus Sandin, because that guy is a step above Timothy Liljegren, and Timothy Liljegren is already a pretty impressive prospect. Considering the condensed schedule, the inevitable injuries that will happen, and the fact that the Maple Leafs are more than likely going to be using 7 defensemen on a nightly basis anyway, Rasmus Sandin being 8th on their defensive depth chart is not that big of a deal. I could still see him getting into 35 or 40 games. I don't think that that's going to stunt his development at all. I mean, 35 or 40 games this year is the equivalent of about 50 or 60 games in a full 82-game season, and it's not like he's not going to play any games for the Marlies this season at all. They will mix him in to some games there, so he's not just going to be rusty sitting on the bench. His development's not going to be stunted. Either at the halfway point or at the end of this year, you got to reevaluate where he is in his development, and you know what? This player might take enough steps to bump someone from that top 7. No matter what you thought of Cody Ceci, there was a point last year when him, Muzzin, and Riley were all injured, and those are your 3 leading time on ice guys, and that left guys like Tyson Barrie and Travis Dermott and Martin Marincin playing in roles that they probably shouldn't have been, so it's never a problem to have depth. And the last guy that I want to profile here from Sweden is Filip Hallander. He was one of the pieces that the Maple Leafs got in return for Kasperi Kapanen, and when I tell you that this player has the potential to be what Kasperi Kapanen was, or what you thought he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs, that tells you how much of a win that trade was. He's a center winger, more than likely a winger at the NHL level, but he's 6'1", 190 pounds. He will be 20 years old for the entirety of this upcoming season, and you can read the reports here. Two-way forward and a capable skater, works hard in forechecks and backchecks impressively, shoots and passes equally well, smart in all 3 zones, and a good team player. His competitiveness and the way he attacks the net makes him a dangerous player in the offensive zone. I don't think that this guy has top 6 potential, although, I mean, I don't want to cap this guy out. I think he ends up being a very good third-line player who can play on your special teams for you, and that's really important. I mean, I don't know what Pittsburgh thinks Kasperi Kapanen is, because all he is a third-line player, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a very effective, very high-end third-line player, and it's important to have really good depth pieces, but they vastly overpaid in that trade. Now, if you watched my video talking about the Maple Leafs' 2020 draft strategy and why I didn't think it was necessarily a one-off is because they considered drafting Filip Hallander in 2018, but instead went with Sean Durzi, who was eventually used in the Jake Muzzin trade, but it's okay because they ended up with Hallander and Jake Muzzin anyway. But this guy's 20 years old, and he's already got 3 professional seasons under his belt in Sweden's highest league. This guy's a lot closer to being NHL ready than what most people realize. We probably won't see him this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'm willing to put some money down that this guy makes the opening night lineup the season after. From 1999-2000, these are individual seasons of forwards playing in the SHL that are under the age of 19, and William Nylander leading the pack there, but more importantly, Filip Hallander, the guy that we're talking about, is 14th on this list in terms of points per game, a minimum of 20 games played. And you guys can see the names on this list. This guy is in pretty impressive company. And this should go without saying, but I'm not saying that Hallander is going to be better than the guy who was picked 7th overall this season in Alexander Holtz, who's behind him on this list. And I'm not saying that Hallander is going to be better than Anze Kopitar either. I'm just saying that it's encouraging that he's in the same company as these players at that age. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Please make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. Guys, we are really close to 3,000 subscribers. If we can hit that mark by my birthday, which is the 16th of January, or even before then, that would be an absolutely huge feat, or before the start of the NHL season. even. But I'm really excited for this upcoming year and this upcoming season because I'm going to be making the channel and the content a lot better here with possible game analysis, breaking down plays. I want to learn more about the game of hockey. You don't want to just be the stats guy. I also want to understand all the plays and everything that goes with it. I do know a little bit, but not as much as I think I should, so we're going to fix that. Oh, also, I see you in the comment section, that one person asking about Noel Hoffenmeyer. I will be talking about him. If you made it this far in the video, you know who you are.